Víte, jak se z toho dostat dál? Vaši běh to jistí, to je pravda, to by mě možná mohlo donutit trošku zhubnout. Víte, jak dál? Jak tady najít někoho? Vy jste mě zmizíkovali! Midnightře, ty podporákům, takže bych docela rád potřeboval vědět, co tady na té mapě, teda na té planetě, mám sakrž dělat. Protože já jsem v koncích. Hele, já si teď neviditelně sním tu hnusnou večeři a tím pádem vlastně nestlousnu, že jo, Midnightře. A dám si pivečko. Tak, už je mi úplně parádně. Už je mi úplně parádně. Klidně si říkejte, co byste chtěli, abych jako prozkoumal nebo ještě tady v té hře udělal. Jestli mám třeba zkusit někoho sundat jako letadlo, nebo jestli mám zkusit nějaký sidequest, nebo jestli zkusíme nadizajnovat nějakou základnu, nebo jestli zkusíme předělat letadlo. Kotrmelec už jsem udělal. Salto, dobře. To jsem taky udělal, když jsem byl neviditelný. Tesíku. Vyhrát tu hru? Dobře. To je strašně fascinující. Jak tady vlastně jako já jdu. A snažím se od jednoho bodu dojít k druhému a jakoby prázdnotou. V Baldur's Gate prostě nemám šanci někam dojít. Ideálně na večeři, kdyby chtěl, vyšel dnes 50-sekundový trailer na nový Magic set. No ty vole, tak to si dáme. Počkej, já to tady jenom překliknu. Je to na Discordu v roomce pro stream. Mimochodem, na jakoby Amazon věci, tady nějak můžu se na ně koukat, že jo? Jenom pro lidi, co mají Amazon Prime, jestli se nepletu. Ale jakože jsem si říkal, že se hodila na kolo času. Když se klidně podíval znovu na ten trailer. Mrknu a... Mrknu. Tak. A kde já to mám? Videa pro stream, paráda. Jo, a ty to tady nemám. Hodíš to tam? Děkuji. Anketu máte up, prosím. Ta na YouTube si vzpomínal, že co se týká hry, budeš se ubírat směrem pašeráctva. Nevím, či už můžeš, ale ano, tak zkusím. Tak v tom případě budeme dělat ten vedlejšák toho Crimson Fleet nostalgio. Dodělám tohle, jestli to vůbec půjde. A vrhneme se na to. Já jsem na to totiž taky zvědavej. Takhle pohádku ještě. A to na Magic the Gathering. Se těším, jakoby už to potřebuje změnu, vlastně ten Pán prstenů mě už na aréně nebaví. To jsem jak svině. No a se podívám, jestli má Wheel of Time něco novýho k té druhé sezóně. Nebo jestli má jenom to, co jsme viděli. Hele, je tu sneak peek. Let's go.
Clear the table. Leave the bucket.
Je to jsou v Tarvalonu, to je tady Makaj.
What are the 5 threads of the one power?
Air, earth, fire, spirit and water.
Good. When you touch these threads, you pull out the elements of the world itself. By the end of today, each one of you will drink the water in your glass. Those of you who master this weave will enjoy it far more than those who do not. Now watch. Draw threads of earth with your right hand from the stones of this tower itself. With your left hand, pull threads of water from the moisture in the air or even this glass in front of you. Now weave them together.
Jakože hodně.
Now pick up your glass, pour it through your weave.
Okay.
Your turn.
Čekal jsem něco epičtějšího, ale...
It will take you many tries to get the water perfectly clean. But you will get better.
Takový Harry Potter, že?
You have two capable hands. It will be easier if you use them.
I didn't come here for easy.
Why are your eyes open? You haven't even embraced the source. So I can see when you're looming over me. Picture the bud of a flower in your mind's eye. It's pink.
To je hustý, protože tady ten sneak peek jako lidem, co mají rádi kolo času, vůbec
It's
nemůže
not
nic říct.
working. Try again. I did try again. In Faldara, the two of you saw your true potential. Lady Amelisa flattened an entire army of Trollocs, using your power, not hers, yours. It will take you years of hard work to learn how to do that yourself, but you can.
No one should have that much power.
You can either embrace what you are, or fear it. Egwene is strong, stronger than most, but you have 10 times that power, Nynaeve, whether you want it or not. 5 months now in this tower and you haven't channeled. Not once.
Sundáme cizílek? OK.
Is holding you back. It's time to break through it.
Dojím a sundáme cizílek.
Today without drinking their glass of water. Now close your eyes. Close your eyes.
Já se to nechci spojovat. Tohle mám pocit, že spíš nefunguje. Mrkneme se STARFIELD. IGN review. Schválně teda, jo. To mě dost zajímá, jestli jsem teda trošku divnej, a nebo ne.
It'll be a bumpy ride. Shields ready. I feel like I'm the kind of person Starfield was made for. I loved Bethesda's last single-player RPG, Fallout 4, maybe a bit too much. There's nothing I like more than a sci-fi universe with spaceships, lasers, and political intrigue flying every which way.
You have my agreement.
And yet, a dozen hours in, I was feeling lost in space. Things never went too far off course while I was flying my rinky-dink little ship around, chasing down mysterious artifacts and war criminals with a damn fine crew of companions at my side. But man, did Starfield make me work hard to get through that opening stretch.
You know, most Dusties don't even make it this far.
Even when it mostly righted the ship and I was loving the story, side quests, and launching boarding parties on enemy ships, there were still too many problems that constantly popped up, forcing me to curb my excitement. It's a bit like Starfield's own elaborate shipbuilder tool. Even though you can slap together a bunch of high-end parts and it will technically fly, sometimes it's just not the best fit.
Okay.
I'd expect no less, but Bethesda has built out a sprawling universe with detailed lore. I wouldn't call it especially distinctive. It's reminiscent of universes like The Expanse and Firefly, and full of references to every sci-fi movie from Aliens to Blade Runner, and of course Interstellar. In fact, there's a significant similarity to what Obsidian created for 2019's The Outer Worlds. But the story of how humans abandoned Earth and colonized the stars is so densely packed in, with more around every corner, that I found it easy to get invested in.
We're all here because we're committed to exploring space.
Once I learned the difference between the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective.
The United Colonies strove to provide all their citizens with opportunity, security, and peace.
Regardless of which background option and starting skills you pick for your character, everyone starts out in the same mining camp and touches the same space magic that sets off a trippy 2001 A Space Odyssey style vision. But after that, Starfield is an immense game that will send you off in all kinds of different directions once it hands you the keys to your first spaceship. It's to the point where talking to others who have played alongside me has left us all bewildered.
Wait, what do you mean you don't know who the Vanguard are?
Wow, you didn't unlock that until level 20?
You met who in a bar? Your new best friend on Neon.
You can easily fall down all sorts of wormholes into extended chains of missions that take you on adventures that rival Skyrim's in scope. Even after about 70 hours, there are major quest lines I haven't even touched, and others I've left unfinished. I'm eager to go back and pick those up now that I've completed the main story.
You know there's more to come.
In typical Bethesda fashion, that main quest itself isn't terribly flexible in how you can resolve the situations it thrusts you into.
Okay.
Your options here are, for the most part, about picking whether you want to be a Boy Scout for whom a good deed is its own reward, a wisecracking mercenary who asks to be rewarded after doing a good deed, or an all-business mercenary who demands to be paid up front to do said good deed.
I'll say right up front,
okay,
if you're looking to get rich, this ain't the line of work for you.
There are a few life and death choices, and there's a decision at the end about which philosophy to embrace before heading into the final battle. But most of it is going to play out the same way because, no matter what, your goal is to solve the mystery of those artifacts alongside your secret society of explorers known as Constellation. I won't say much about where the plot goes because it's way too easy to spoil, but I did enjoy the way it probes its biggest concept in distinctive ways, and there's plenty of well-written discussion about what it all means.
Get out of here, Dusty. You're on to bigger things.
It's in the side quests that you really get to act out your character's morals and choose to resolve conflicts peacefully or just by killing and robbing innocent people.
Okay, takže side questy. Okay.
There's a storyline that felt very Boys from Brazil inspired, as well as numerous related quests about hunting down war criminals that pose ethical quandaries to reconcile.
If it dealt death, he could make a deal more.
You can even join up with the Crimson Fleet pirates and dive into a life of smuggling and general space crime. It seems like it would take hundreds of hours to explore them all, and there sure are a lot of options. I wouldn't say I've encountered anything just yet that's as spectacular as destroying Megaton in Fallout 3, but Starfield has its moments. There's no shortage of interesting companion characters to hang out with throughout all this. There's definitely a focus on Sarah, the virtuous leader of Constellation.
Don't think we can't find another way to get what we want.
And Sam, an angsty former lawman with a young daughter who he's always worried will see him as less than perfect. However, I was richly rewarded by taking the eccentric scientist Barrett along with me on some missions.
You're part of this now.
And I suspect the others hold a few surprises up their sleeves as well. But you can only take one with you at a time, so I have more exploration to do here as well.
We waste time. We should complete our mission and then we can talk.
It helps that Bethesda has certainly upped its facial animation game for Starfield. Sure, it's nowhere near as lifelike as motion captured performances we've seen in The Last of Us and God of War, but generally, it's expressive enough that it can do justice to the excellent voice performances.
Looking a little more.
Mám pocit, že jakoby ten typek uznává, že to není dobrý úplně, ale že to není blbý. A?
Starfield's problems, though, are glaring. I have to say that the early hours are pretty rough going. And there was a while there when I was wondering if the stars would ever align. So this review is going to go through that rough patch too. But bear with me, just like Starfield itself, it does get better by the end.
That's why I keep him around.
To musíme přečkat, čete.
Here's the biggest fundamental problem. See this vast map of stars? It feels extremely small when each of its hundreds of explorable planets is separated by little more than a loading screen. It didn't take long for me to realize that takeoff and landing animations are barely interactive cutscenes. They can often be bypassed by just going to the map screen and jumping to another planet without even setting foot on a ship. It's impossible not to compare Starfield's disjointed space travel to the seamlessness of No Man's Sky, and it's a bit of a letdown every single time. The next nuisance that irritated me no matter where I roamed is the fact that there are no actual maps, mini or otherwise. This screen is just not helpful at all. I spent way too much time searching for basic things like vendors to sell my loot to while I tried to memorize the layout of multiple settlements. And I expect most people will just look up community-made maps like the ones that IGN's guide team is working on anyway. Also, like Bethesda's previous RPGs, Starfield's playtime is roughly 30% inventory management, and yet it's shockingly bad at that task. You'll constantly need to transfer loot between your inventory and your companions or to and from your ship's cargo hold. But maddeningly, you can't view both at the same time like you can in Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Modders, if you're listening, please help. Those problems never got better during my playthrough. I just learned to live with them.
Super, má úplně stejný problém
The
jako
hope
já.
that I did work my way over, though, is that Starfield doesn't tell you enough about how its huge collection of systems work, and it trickles out the cool stuff too slowly. Out of the gate, you can't mod your equipment, you can't use your essential boost pack, and you can barely use stealth or board enemy ships at all. You can build outposts that are a lot like Fallout 4 settlements, but it doesn't tell you that you probably shouldn't bother with them early on because you don't need huge quantities of a single resource until way later. Speaking of, storage space on the first tier of ships is obnoxiously small for the amount of loot and resources you gather. I resorted to silly workarounds like throwing stuff on the floor of my ship like a space hoarder.
What can I help you with?
Eventually though, all that stuff gets resolved through upgrades and learning the ropes. It's also worth noting that the worlds you explore are generally visually different with varying gravity, but they're barren and lifeless aside from the crafted areas you visit in quests. I mean, yeah, you'd expect that from planets that are mostly untouched by intelligent beings, but that doesn't make them a lot more fun to run around. Outside of a handful of randomly generated outposts full of enemies to raid, all there is to do is scan trees and rocks or zap them with a mining laser.
We just love rocks.
Or sometimes scan and maybe shoot alien wildlife. It's a far cry from Bethesda's previous games, where you could barely swing a dead mud crab without hitting something cool. And it took a while for me to learn that I could largely just ignore this stuff. There's one part of the main quest that's pretty repetitive too. You're sent to investigate a series of ancient structures, and it's annoying that what you do inside of each one is completely identical. The rewards are different and enticing enough for me to want to chase them all down at least. But after the first few, I couldn't help but wish that Bethesda's designers had taken some inspiration from Breath of the Wild when it came to creating different puzzles for each one. So it wasn't until about a dozen hours in that I unlocked enough upgrades that the gameplay started to gel for me alongside the story. Starfield absolutely is one of those games that takes way too long to get to the good part. But the fact that it eventually did get its claws into me forced me to jettison all of the more like Starfield jokes I'd been workshopping out the airlock and focus more on what this sci-fi epic gets right, or at least does well enough. Filed under does well enough is combat, which is the solution to most problems unless you're extremely dedicated to the idea of talking or sneaking your way past most encounters with hostile pirates, robots, and wildlife, and anything that looks at you funny. It's not bad, and it's kept me happily plinking away with my tricked out laser rifles and shotguns, but it's not especially great either. Without anything new and exciting to fill the void left by Fallout's time-stopping bat system, it's pretty standard stuff. To their credit, enemies do react in fun ways, and sometimes they'll flee if you killed off their friends. Plus, the modifiers on epic and legendary weapons and gear have some fun stuff going on that's not afraid to be game-changing. I found a rifle that does more damage as my health decreases, and makes enemies more likely to drop medpacks. I found a spacesuit that has a 10% chance to set nearby attackers on fire, and made me invisible when I crouched and held still. That's kinda cool, and there's a lot more where that came from. The other side of combat is ship-to-ship battles, which are also fairly simple as space dogfighting games go. It's never not entertaining to blast away at pirates and watch the pretty explosions. There's some basic power management, but I rarely felt the need to fiddle with it in combat because most of the ships I bought or found had enough power to go around. The closest thing to VATS you get in Starfield is when you spend a skill point on target locking, which is an absolute must-have. Disabling weapons is a great way to even the odds when you're being ganged up on. But even better is when you take out their engines and board them. Some of the best moments in my Starfield playthrough have happened during these raids, as I went room by room mopping up enemies until I gunned down the captain and sat in their chair to seize their ship and its cargo for myself. I'm definitely going full pirate next run through, so I can do this all the time. Another highlight of Starfield is the sheer variety of spaceships flying through the settled systems. And the fact that they're so modular and customizable made me want to dump more skill points into starship design, so that I can mess with it more and learn the somewhat complicated rules of how to snap the pieces together to form a space-worthy vessel. Oh yeah, and the lockpicking minigame deserves a shout out as one of the best I've seen in an RPG.
No.
Are there bugs? Of course there are. I've seen a fair amount of model and texture pop in, occasional crashes, performance slowdowns, mostly during autosaves, wonky waypoints, clipping issues, wrong camera angles during conversations, the works. I've played mostly on PC myself, but IGN's Xbox Series X players report occasional framerate dips, but nothing outrageous. I have to say, Starfield has been fairly stable for a big, open RPG like this. I never ran into a quest I couldn't finish on the first try, for instance, so its bugs haven't been bad. The results may vary, though. With a game this complex, they always do.
Super. Verdict, pojďme.
It's never a great sign when somebody recommends a game on the grounds that it gets good after more than a dozen hours, but that's very much the kind of game Starfield is, and I do recommend it.
And to think, I almost went for coffee instead.
There are a lot of forces working against it, and the combination of its disjointed space travel, non-existent maps, aggravating inventory management, and slow rollout of essential abilities very nearly did it in. It was the joys of piloting a custom spaceship into and out of all sorts of morally ambiguous situations in a rich sci-fi universe that eventually pulled it out of a nosedive.
I might even let you fly me around sometime.
I'm glad that I powered through the early hours, because its interstellar mystery story pays off, and, once the ball got rolling, combat on foot and in space gradually became good enough that its momentum carried me into New Game Plus after I'd finished the main story after around 60 hours. Like Skyrim and Fallout 4 before it, there's still an immense amount of quality role-playing quests and interesting NPCs out there waiting to be stumbled across. And the pull to seek it out is strong. For more on RPGs, check out our reviews of Baldur's Gate 3 and Sea of Stars. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
Já jsem si stěžoval na podobné věci, co já. A jakože ho vysírali a dobrý. Byl jsem i omylem trošičku pomohlo tady v řešení možná toho questu. Vtipný je, že IGN, Japan a France tomu dali 100%, OK. 100%? Tak já jsem to dobře pochopil v tom videu. Mám jakoby jít do té gravitační anomálie a prozkoumat to tam ještě. To zní moc, až když jsem se dostal za překážku. To tak ale řekl férově, jo, že jo? Tohle mi tady to musím jít prozkoumat. Jsem dobře pochopil. A pak jdeme teda, jak jsem slíbil, na ty lodě. Vykrádat. Blbě. Já jsem fakt zmaten. By to mělo být, ne? Řekl, co vypadá trošku jak ten artefakt mimochodem. Ne. Já se nehádám Izu, teď pro boha. Jenom jako... Protože si rozumíme, ale vlastně jako by tím, že... Víš, jak furt na to budeme hejtit. Stejně jako... Stejně jako u Kingdom Come to prostě nezměníš, no. Došlo třeba tady od zdola nějak jakoby jít? Ne, to je blbost. O, do prdele. Ne, nejsem tady. Co bych za tu mapu? Tak jo. Tamhle jdem poslední, když je na to seru. Nemáme to jindy. A zkusíme ten vedlejšák, ať se tady něco děje taky trochu a zkusíme tu Crimson Fleet, čete, jo? Jsem slíbil. Kam doletět? Jak doletět? Tam nejde doletět. Protože to mám prozkoumaný. Vidíš, to je ten oser. aspoň uvidíme, jaký jsou ty vedlejší questy. Prej, jestli jsou dobrý, tak tuhle cajk. Okay. Bojím, že je to prostě hlavně generovaný. No nejde jen poblíž právě, bohužel. Jestli si jsem jistý, nevím, ale myslím, že to tak nejde. Nejde přistát kdekoliv na povrchu právě. To je takový jako fejkový, že můžeš přistát kdekoliv na povrchu. Ojoj, ojoj. Halo, hro? OK. No to spadlo. Je to reálně spadlo. Bagung. No tak jo. Tak půjdeme na ty fleet. A já se podívám asi normálně, jakože kde to je. A pak to dohledám, protože tady jsem se zasek. Nenechává, ale myslím si, že to je možná mírou detailu nostalgiou. Že ho nemám tak vysoko, abych zase nebyl zlej. Cool, ty vole. To je to veliký. OK. Takže my hledáme... To neznám, vůbec nevím, ale... Sidonie zase. Zhůru. Jen takový rychlý dotaz. Myslíte, že je to worth koupit pro člověka, co má cca 400 hodin na Skyrimu? Myslím si, že ne, Radečku, myslím si, že mnohem lepší je, jestli se nepletu, tak je to na Game Passu. Takže si to normálně jako počkat a na Game Passu si to 4 kg koupit a hrát. Nebo kolik stojí Game Pass? Míň, ne ještě. Je to ještě docela dost drahý. Za mě. 350, no.
The UC clings to its old ways. I suspect the soul system would be abandoned otherwise.
A musím říct, že jakoby vlastně tím, jak je to, jsou to ty planety, tak ono vlastně do jisté míry víc z toho vykoukne ta prázdnota, protože u toho fantasy seš s tím jako víc v cajku prostě. Tam pořád to něčím zaplníš, jo, jakože... To tak jako zmrt, jo, ale... Dneska jenom ti stačí, že na to prostě vyběhne půl ork a máš radost. Tady to prostě víc vidět, že tam nic není. Když člověk hledá, dá se to udělat za 3K, 3,5K na 3 roky, OK. Děkuju.
Do you imagine anyone actually enjoys living here? I simply cannot.
Watch out for the robots. They're surprisingly sneaky.
Tak, paní.
If you're here to buy or sell, you might want to talk to Octai. I'm busy.
Chci vyložit, přišel jsem prodávat a hledám vás.
Wouldn't be the first time I've heard that line. Oh, don't give me that look. I'm just having a laugh. What have you got for me?
Chci prodat zásilku Aurory.
Whoa, way too hot for me. That stuff is nothing but bad news. Why don't you take your shipment and try somewhere else?
If the trade authority is not interested, that says a great deal.
Tak a můžu na veřejnosti o tom mluvit? OK. Čau, Ladislave. Pokud to nezvládnete, odkažte mi na někoho, kdo to zvládne.
All I'm going to point at is the ceiling, with my middle finger. Get that stuff out of here before UC security catches on. Of course, if there's a finder's fee you're offering, I might, well, bend the rules a little bit.
Co kdybych ti prostě vystřelil mozek z hlavy a zeptal se někoho jiného?
Sure, go ahead. You shoot me and the TA will have bounty hunters on your ass before you even get back to the spaceport.
Prostě nemůžu být zlej.
Listen, love, I've heard it all. Threats bounce right off. So either cough up the finder's fee or try and sell that shipment on your own.
Dobře.
You know, it's funny. Suddenly, I do remember someone who might be able to unload that stuff for you.
Just demand the extra credits up front next time. These games are juvenile and tiresome.
There's a buddy of mine who runs with the Crimson Fleet. Goes by the name Adler Kemp. If he isn't passed out, you can find him killing the rest of his brain cells at the Broken Spear.
Broken Spear.
Oh, and it's been a pleasure doing business with you.
Mu říkám, ty vole, získat 1000 ty vole kreditu, nebo co to je, zadarmo prakticky. Nic se nedělají, se pojď. Já to taky nechápu, proč tam kurva je evil možnost, když nikam nevede. Proč tam je? Proč tam vůbec je? To je takový railroad, ale takovej. To je jako fake RPGčka vlastně tohle. Reálně, to je fakt fake jako RPGčka a fake rozhodnutí.
Unless you're here to serve me another drink, you can turn around and walk away.
No právě teď zjišťujeme strásto, proto se tak stekám. Jako snažím se nestekat, ale ne, neovlivňuji vůbec nic. To je jenom jako proto, přesně jak píše Erkidlero, to je jenom proto, aby to vypadalo, že mám něco na výběr. Ale není, jakoby vůbec, já můžu říct, vykuchám ti jako prostě krávu a ona mi řekne, jo, jasně, no tak mi dával ty peníze a ty můžeš odejít a stejně dál ten quest nevede, dokud ti nedám ty peníze, takže pak zase přijdu a dám mi peníze, jo, že... To je mazec. Další pivo. Třeba se mi to bude ty dialogy líbit víc. Proto lidi milují Bethesda hry, mají pocit, že hrají RPG hry a je to akční adventura s otevřeným světem. Já ani nechci, to aby zase nebyl nefér, John Ice, já nechci Fallouta 1, Fallouta 2, ani náhodou. Mně dokonce přesně jak píše Kapík, nevadí ani Railroad, ale musí být vkusně a chytře udělaný. Jo. Tady je to strašně průhledný, jakože to, že ti dám možnost, já ji vezmu a řeknu, dobře, tak já budu zlej a vy řeknete, tak já jsem si to rozmyslel, ne, tak ji nemáš, tak je přeci extrémně průhledný na to, na co se ptal Strásta. Jakoby stačí to udělat dvakrát a dojde vám, to vůbec to je jedno, co klikám, OK.
Yoo-hoo, anyone in there?
Prostě jenom fascinuje, že to fakt jako nevadí lidem tolik, že prostě... Raz Boudanová říkala, že by se mohl pomoct něco přemístit.
Hey, why don't you say that a little louder? I don't think every single UC guard in Sidonia heard you. Okay. Yeah, I think we can help you with this. If you've got a whole shipment of this stuff, you're going to need to move it fast. But you're going to have to do something for us first.
Jde mi a nás? Myslel jsem, že jednám s vámi.
You're a clever one, aren't you? Let's just say I have a certain influential affiliation. And leave it at that. Basically, you want that Aurora moved, I'm your guy.
Asi jsem fakt narazil na strop jako Riku Sanchez, že jsem prostě jako fakt RPGčkovej snob. To mají i výhodu. Netřeba máš pravdu, nostalgio. Tahovat češtinu. Člověk něco naklikne a hotovo. Jede dál, přesně tak. Já si nemyslím, že to je těma balderama. Já si myslím, že by mi to asi vadilo i normálně. Ano, ty baldery tomu dělají třeba 10%, 15%. Ale podle mě tohle jako je už jako extrém. Já si upřímně myslím, že i v tom Skyrimu to bylo lépe ukrytý a ve Skyrimu dost často na vás útočily ty postavy. Ve Skyrimu od nich, že jo, to samý, 1:1, jako ve fantasy, konec konců oni sami řekli, že to je Skyrim ve vesmíru. Ale aspoň jsem někoho urazil a šli po mně a zabili mě. Takhle jednoduchý. Takže jsem čekal, že tu holku urazím, ona řekne, dobrý, tak to jsi pěkný kokot, půjde po mně, všichni strážní po mně půjdou a zabije mě, jakoby, zabije mě ta Sidonie, že jo. Mazec. Já taky doufám, že to není snobství, já spíš jako jenom doufám, že když prostě mi řekneš, že mi dáváš hrušky, tak mi prostě dáváš hrušky, no a ne, že kecáš prostě. Ale Sláňo, zapomeňte na to, prostě tu zásluku odvezmu někomu jinému.
Yeah, sure. If the trade authority won't even deal with the shipment of that crap, where else you gonna go? Just cool your thrusters for a minute before you wreck this deal for the both of us.
I see no good reason why we should have any extra dealings with the likes of you.
Lady, if you want me to move that shipment for your pal here, you're going to do whatever the hell I want. You got that? Now listen up, because I'm not going to repeat myself. I need you to deal with a miner who's racked up a bunch of debt. Probably spent it all on booze, not that I blame him. Either way, I want that money back.
Okay.
Perfect. His name's Carl Fielding. I think you'll
Přesně
find
tak,
him wandering
Skyrim nemá
around the
tolik
famous
rozhodnutí, ale
miners'
když
quarters.
máš rozhodnutí zlý,
Don't worry, you can't
tak
miss
po tobě jdou.
Just look for the most miserable looking guy in the entire place.
Děláte tady, jako byste nezažili Fallout 4, tam ten feudal systém zavedl. Já jsem právě 4 nehrál, kámo. Jsem hrál 3, hrál jsem New Vegas, 1, 2, 76 mě naštěstí taky minula. Jo, takže možná proto. Střel ho, schválně, jo. Ale já myslím, že to... Nejde zbavit! A budete na to někdo reagovat? Budete na to někdo kurva reagovat?
Jo, přesně! Do prdele! Do prdele! A jste zvednul! Hrozí detonace podzemních částic, ale je tady Magor se sekerou, halo! Je tu Magor se sekerou!
Někdo utíkat pryč! Musím pokecat.
Why are you still here? Get my money from Carl or get out of my face.
Sekeru do hlavy! OK. Skilly. Mrknem. Nic se nestalo. Vůbec nic, žádná konsekvence. Jako vůbec žádná. Takže... social. Scavenging, theft, gastronomy, commerce, deception. To je podle mě na ty minigamesy, si myslím, hele. Já si myslím, že to je na ty minigamesy, víš, jenom, Izu. Ta minigame se mimochodem baví. Ta minigame se je super, stejně jako ten lockpick, jo. To se hodně vytáhli. Dobrý, tak nic, no. Já si tu sekeru strčím do prdele. Utíkáte někam pryč ode mě?
Yes? What?
Co z toho jdu po Blade? To byla poslední naděje, no. Ne, no. Tak, co teď? Tamhle dolů.
Sometimes it feels like the UC forgets we're out.
What the fuck? Jo, aha, okay, cool. Ne, dokonce, myslím, že na jídlo průchod tady nejde. Že to je jakoby vlastně lžem, možná to asi smaž. Já zkusím jít za ten Crimson Fleet, ale to bude pro mě jediné, co bude moct dělat. Ať nelžem. Tady bych nešel.
Sit down, it's not so bad. Honest work, good
Napiš neúspěšný pokus o Evil Run. Jo. A smaž i ten RPG, tak. jo, k tomu říkám demová frustrace. Doufám, že vás to neserečete, až vás to bude srát, jako u Kingdom Come, já se snažím na to dávat bacha, aby to nebylo podobný. Dejte vědět. Mě to zatím vlastně trochu baví. Budeš pak natáčet druhý dojmy? Budu. Ano, budu. V neděli natočíme druhý dojmy. Myslím si, že to bude na 6. Jakoby moje. Důvod, ten má hro. Okay.
Something I can help you with?
Čili jsem si pro kredity, které dlužíte společnosti Adler Camp.
Adler Camp? Who the heck is that?
Dlužíte někomu peníze, nebo ne?
Of course I owe money. Unless you're independently wealthy. Everyone's in debt nowadays. I owe Deimos. I owe my landlord. I owe Galbank. I have a tab at Parsec Deep at Cespear. It's an endless list. So why don't you just leave me here? Let me get drunk and find someone else to bother. Okay?
Jenom jestli bys to našel, Strásto, tak v tom případě do té další recenze nejspíš budu potřebovat tu část, jak jsem ho seknul a řval jsem, ať na to zareagujou. To si myslím, že tam jako fakt chci, jako highlight té recenze, aby mi lidi věřili, že si nevymýšlím. Díky. Hele, Adler to s dluhem myslí vážně, takže doporučuji zaplatit rychle. Chtěl bych třeba možnost, zaplatím to za tebe, je to v pohodě, nebo možnost, vymlátím to z tebe, ty prase, nebo...
Adler, you said? Nope. I think you have me mixed up with someone else. Look, I'm tired. It's been a long day in the mines. I just want to go home, wash off the dust, and relax. This has been fun, though. Whatever.
Docela česky docela vtipný. Hrad jsem tě poznal, jsem si jistý, že tvůj pohřeb bude krásný.
Hey now. Take it easy there. Let me think about that person you mentioned. Adler, was it? Hmm? Oh, wait. You mean that Adler? Yeah, sorry. I thought you were talking about someone else. I told him I'd pay up next week when Deimos cuts our next profit share check. I'll even bring it to him personally. Sound good? Yeah?
Zaplať, nebo ti Deimos pošle domů mrtvou v rakvi.
Come on! Give me a break! What the... Look, I haven't got a single credit to spare right now. Okay? You can't squeeze blood from a stone. You know? Right?
Clearly this man has never seen how hard I can squeeze.
Hele, teď vypadá, že to je vyřešit několika způsoby, takže dobré, čete. Dobré. Už mě nebaví hrát hry.
What games? Why are you doing this to me? I don't have the money.
To je to opravdu za to riziko, peníze můžete vždycky získat zpět později.
Sure. I guess I could ask for a 7-day shift. I don't know.
To máš zase nějaký subaton? Nemám stínový strážce. Dneska jsem tady dlouho, protože ta hra je nová, v neděli tady budu dlouho, pak tady budu normálně. Jistě znáte někoho, kdo z vás dluh uhradí, ne? To taky nevidím do toho, takže taky trošku náhodou.
That's all I need. To become a charity case. How much lower do you expect me to go? Huh?
Ale dolar ti hodně ublíží, pokud mu to nevrátíš.
I guess I'm only putting off the inevitable. Please, tell Adler I'm sorry for trying to wiggle out of the debt.
Nepovedlo?
I didn't have much of a choice.
Oh, hello.
Okay.
The office of Governor Hurst would like to remind all Sidonian citizens to do their part to keep Sidonia clean.
Už to opravili? Co myslíš, stínový strážce, co opravili? The fuck?
Mech Horizon is a fictionalized account of a mech pilot seeking career after face-off with the UC Spacers.
I heard they found another new freshwater...
Okay, they're cool.
Deposit one of the mines. So much better than paying
already gained twice the following in the Freestar Collective and more than its ship.
This here's the most important.
Tak jsem tu.
Have something for me?
Pekeru.
There, would you look at that? I knew that bum was holding out on me. He going to be a problem anymore? Or did he get the message? Nice, nice. You're kind of a natural at this. Leaning on deadbeats comes easy to you. I like that.
Jo, to je pravda.
You know, if you like this kind of work, I can get you more. A lot more. You think you can handle running with my associates?
Jestli si myslíš, že mě zvládnou?
That's what I'm talking about. I like your style. All right. I'll call ahead and get a hold of Nevamora. She's second to the big boss himself. Head out to Europa. You'll find her there. I suggest you listen to whatever she has to say. Oh, and I've taken care of that Aurora shipment for you too. Don't spend all that cash in one place.
Okay, díky. Odměny za misi. Woo! Paráda! A letíme do Evropy. Je to byla asi loď. To je docela hezký název lodi, musím říct. Co vlastně zatím to píšou lidi na YouTube pod tím videem, jako spíš souhlasí nebo nesouhlasí? Myslím, že to je měsíc, to je Europe měsíc? OK, tak to pardon. Tady to jumpování je bomba, zapomenu, že tady je jiná gravitace. Miluju to, co bys to dal? To zase paměti. To rychle zdrhnem. Zdrhej! No po mně. Ale kihoupe. Já tě taky rád vidím, kámo. Negativní komentář na hru. Pustý. Tak hledám. Jo, vlastně my máme tady ještě ty dva lidi, co máme někam dopravit. Úplně zapomněl. To, co mě sere na dnešním světě. Prodáváte shit a prochází vám to, lidi to kupujou. Pak někdo dělá něco dobrýho a náhodou je díky tomu slavný. Variani, ahoj. A lidi jsou překvapení.
The doctor is in.
Lajkrone, děkuju. Jsi fakt zlato. Dneska mi tady úplně zlepšuješ náladu. Děkuju moc za 10 darovaných předplatných. A jestli se nepletu, tak jsme historicky hitnuli přes 1500 sabů. Moc za chvilku půjdu se šupajdí, takže já se tady jako změním level. Jsem level streamer 15. Ještě to musím teda vychytat, jo. Změním gól, který je nesmyslný, to stejně už nedám, ale změním level streamera 15, musím vám dodat 6 vychytávek, jo, jste hustý, to mi taky sere, mě to fakt až jako, mě vlastně se z toho chce brečet občas Riku Sanchezi, jo, když prostě vidím firmy, co prodávají prostě šitózní boty. A lidi je kupujou, prostě úplně a tak furt dokola, no. A prostě fakt je to sere. Protože to je precedent, že jo, takže vlastně jako logicky to pak budou dělat pořád dál. Proč by to dělali jinak, když jim to furt vychází, jako. Jo, tady já. To jsem vůbec nevěděl, aspoň si něco naučím. Že to je... OK, to je měsíc Jupitera. Cool. Je to kabát nějaká název, jo.
Look who finally had the guts to show up. Looks like Adler finally did something right for once. So, big shot. I hear Adler thinks you're good enough to join our crew.
Proč jsem tady?
We'll see. When the waters get deep, it's sink or swim. So, before I put you to work, let's get everything out in the open. I don't know if Adler mentioned it, and for his sake, I hope he hasn't. But you aren't about to sign up with any average pirate crew. You're signing up with the Crimson Fleet. That's if you can do this little task I have planned for you. There's a medical supply ship called the Rygana, jumping into Enceladus's orbit. On board that ship you'll find a traitor named Austin Riggs.
Je skoro, že budu někoho ničit, čete. Let the hate flow through me. Rudolfe, vítám tě tady. Moc krát děkuji za 120,60 korun. Zdravím na Slovensko. Nic proti této hře, určitě vyzkoušám, ale Baldur's Gate. To tak, kolik to bylo? 120 korun 60 haléřů, protože eura. Ale zároveň se dostáváš do stosování. V neděli budeme hledat výherce. Mám jednu hru, Starfield do slosovačky v neděli večer a zároveň jedno tričko velikosti L Starfieldu do slosovačky. Takže moc děkuji za podporu. Dneska se tady utrhl i chat a vlastně jsme zjistili, že se omylem sbírá na lepší grafiku. Bych pak zvládal lepší hry. A ty jsi do toho taky přispěl, takže moc díky. Do toho... Ne, 120,60.
This Neva Mora, her words are measured and carry weight. She is not to be trifled with.
Dobře. Proč chcete mrtvýho?
Hell, I'm the one who vouched for him in the first place. Back then he had a different name and a different identity. He was a damn good earner too. Brought in a ton of creds. Everything was fine until he wanted out. So he ran. And nobody, I mean nobody,
To je směřováno k nám.
runs away from the fleet.
Takže to je OK. Jsem pro. Tak si můžete být jistý, že tam je?
I've been tracking Rick for months.
Jdem na to.
He's making it
Jdem na
tough.
to!
Not gonna lie. He changes his location and identity so often, but you know what? It's worth every damn cred. He's made me look like a fool in front of Delgado, and I'm gonna have his head on a pike.
Yeah. OK. Takže jsem sem letěl jenom proto, abych... Můžu sundat? Co to je hail? To je, že si s ním pokecám, jo? To já nechci se sundat, protože já chci jim patřit. Na to seru. Ale mrkneme, kam máme letět. Tady to není. Fuck. Tady to má být. Měj se hezky, Empy. Čau, čau, čau. Užij si hezký večer. Chápu to. Teď nechápu. Poblíž enchilády, jo, takže já musím přiletět. To chápu. Tady ho najde. Marmarigolda, čau čau, vítám tě tady. Čágo, čágo. Zdravíčko tobě.
This is Dmitry Moldarsky.